I'd like to start with our first question. If you could introduce yourself, if you could introduce yourself with your name, position, your major duties as a teacher, and where you work.
So my name is Spencer Powell. I'm a high school science teacher at Central High School in Grand Junction, Colorado. I've been at Central for 2 years, and I taught at Booklift Middle School for 7 years previously. And right now I primarily teach AP Environmental Science, as well as some other science classes, in addition to our Outdoor Wilderness Leadership class. And Central is a STEM high school. That's one of our big focuses, with all of our students, and we definitely try to bring elements of STEM into all of our classes.
What about the greening STEM model and framework convinced you to give it a try?
So where we live in Western Colorado, we've got the Colorado River running right through town. And when I was approached with this opportunity to take a group of students down the river and do some real science in our community, it seemed like a great deal. The trip ended up being even better than I could have expected. It was really magical, to be honest. And probably my favorite part about this is not only do the students get to really interact with the environment and put to use things we've talked about in class, but just the community partnerships that came together to make this project work are really amazing. We've got people from all over the state and all throughout our community coming together to support these kids, taking on some real science and really doing some cool learning.
How has your approach to teaching about the environment changed as a result of using the greening STEM framework?
I think what's changed is I've become even more in tune, I think, with the importance of using local examples in class. We are fortunate to live in a pretty unique area. Over 75% of our county is actually BLM land. And so we've got a lot of wild and accessible places and a lot of interesting ecology going on. And, instead of looking at, invasive species, in Massachusetts or, Timbuktu, we can look at stuff that's happening literally in our backyard. We've got some pretty cool examples of all sorts of interesting ecological things happening in our community and near our community that most kids are familiar with, but being able to help them connect the dots and see, how the stuff we talk about in class is directly related to our world where we live is really special.
Which aspects of the greening STEM model was the most challenging to include, and how did you and your team overcome that challenge?
To me, it wasn't so much that any particular one was more or less challenging, but more so that they were all present, which is pretty cool. Obviously being a place-based initiative, again, for us to, not quite walk out our back door and hop on a raft, but it wasn't a very far drive. And to, again, experience, a really wild place with some real environmental issues, right down the road was really cool. And I guess from a project-based standpoint, I think that would be the area that I'm hoping to kind of improve, not only for the students that get to go on the rafting trip, but also for the students who don't get to go, and helping them kind of explore and create a more complete understanding of what we're doing out there. Because the students that get to be boots on the ground really get immersed in the experience, but the ones who don't get to go obviously are a little more removed from that.
Yeah, that's really great to hear that all those elements were in place, and and that in this next round there's new directions and growth for the project too. Aside from yourself, were there others who were instrumental in deciding to use the greening STEM approach for this project?
Yes, Don Cooper and Nikki Grant Hoffman were instrumental in this. Don was with Colorado Canyons Association. She's since moved on, and Nikki is continuing to be with the BLM. We had other community partners as well, but they were the two major drivers that really brought this project together. And their enthusiasm really came through in all the planning, and the trip went off spectacularly because of them.
What advice would you give to educators looking to integrate environmental education using the greening STEM model and using the environment as context for learning and getting students outdoor for STEM learning?
My advice first is just do it. Find a way to make it happen, and it doesn't matter if you live in a rural area or an urban area. There's opportunities wherever you live. You just need to find them, and then greening STEM can be a big part of that process. And also community partnerships are really what made this work for us. Again, to be involved with BLM, CCA, CPW, Palisade Insectary, really all different conservation organizations and government organizations, the school district. It really works through partnership, and if you can find good partners, you're going to find good projects, and you're going to have kids that have really impactful experiences.
Thank you, Spencer. We appreciate hearing your experience with this Greening STEM project and that valuable advice for other educators.